AskReddit. Posted by Crackduck. 9 years ago. AskReddit, who here would like to share their paranormal/supernatural/unexplained experiences. I was about 7 and out in the garden when several stars in the sky moved in really weird patterns. It can't have been comets cause they changed direction, almost like someone drawing straight lines one way then changing and moving in a totally new direction. It was kind of creepy and my bro saw it too, so I wasn't going insane. One summer I was in Boy Scouts camping and a group of us were outside at some night event. I happened to notice one star moving across the sky in a straight line, but then it suddenly started doing 90-degree zigzags. The motion was not curvy in any way, it was sharp 90-degree turns interspersed with straight stretches. The speed never changed. I remember being scared out of my mind. Other boys had seen the same thing and it started a bit of a commotion. One of the scout masters calmed us all down, telling us we saw a man-made satellite of some kind. I was relieved until a few weeks later when I told adults about what I saw and they all told me there was no way a satellite could do 90-degree zigzags, and that all man-made satellites moved only in straight lines, if they moved at all. When my children were very small, under 3 years old, we would often hear them, over their baby monitors, having what seemed like one-sided conversations with someone. Each child then at some point would casually mention their Papa D, who could only be my husband's long-deceased father. He died when my husband was 16. We hadn't yet brought up the subject that they had another grandpa besides my father, a grandpa who died many years before they were born. Both of our kids also knew things about him that we really have no idea how they could have known. That he was an artist, that he fought in a war. I can't tell you how much it meant to my husband that his father was watching over his precious grandsons while they slept. Pay attention to your little ones, they see and hear things that we adults are closed off to. Okay, I swear this is true. On my life, I was living in a bedsite in Dublin townhouse. I suppose the house was old enough. It was a tiny bedsite with a little hall between the bedroom and the door, with the toilet off to the side. Anyway, I was lying on the bed half dozing, expecting a guy I knew to call in a while. Anyway, next thing, I hear footsteps. I'm thinking maybe that's Owen. But how did he get in without a key? I propped myself up on my elbow to see who it was. Next thing my vision sort of went all white and I saw a young guy wearing a hoodie sort of stenciled out in black against the white. It's hard to describe exactly, but he was looking down at me staring into my eyes. I remember thinking move, run, do something, but I was literally paralyzed with fear. Next thing, the guy got down on his haunches and just looked directly in the eyes. Funny I can't remember how it stopped. What broke the spell? I've heard about sleep paralysis, which are caused between sleep and waking, and people can have hallucinations in this state. That seems a perfectly logical explanation, but in my mind I've no doubt I saw a ghost. Anyway, the next weekend was my 21st birthday and my best friend came up to celebrate it with me. I wondered if I should mention the ghost thing to him and I thought no. If he says he sees anything it might be because I've influenced him, and if he doesn't see anything then maybe there's nothing to it. And yeah, he slept on the floor with his feet point towards the small hallway. About 20 minutes after we had gone to bed I heard him and a moment or two later he said, "John, there's someone in the next room." And I jumped up and turned on the light but no one was there. He told me he thought he saw a guy looking at him but at first thought he was just imagining till the guy turned his head sideways, checking him out closer. So this confirmed that to me that my place was haunted. Strange thing is, I would normally be terrified to live somewhere I thought might be haunted, even though I don't normally believe in this kind of thing. But I got the feeling when the guy was checking me out that he was okay, that he was a threat or malicious or anything. He was just seeing who the new occupant of his place was. I stayed there another 5 or 6 months, didn't feel scared at all and never saw him again. First posted this here. Last school semester, I thought of my friend I hadn't seen in 5 years while riding in my friend's car. I couldn't have seen him in a nearby car. My eyes were closed and I was half napping. I ran into him 10 minutes later at the mall. Edit, more instances, not all mine. When I was 12, my dad died. I was sleeping over at my friend's house when it occurred. I bolted right up at 11:07 a.m., the exact time that he was disconnected from life support. My mum's side of the family were from Russia, and some of the women on the maternal side secretly held psychic businesses, but kept it a secret due to being surrounded by a heavily Catholic environment. Back in '64, I think, my great-grandmother had an experience exactly like my own when her husband of the time died. He was at the same hospital my dad died at, in fact. Something similar to your experience with your dad happened to me. My mum was pretty sick when I was 13-14. One night, I woke up out of a sound sleep and was lying awake in the dark. A few minutes later, the phone rang. I could tell from listening to my father's side of the conversation that it was the hospital and she had passed away about the time I woke up. This doesn't happen with every person, and it appears that I need to be in a neutral place for this to happen. By neutral, I mean neither very happy or sad, just sort of at peace with everything. But every so often, when I'm talking with someone, I can see into that person and see past and future events. Sometimes it is specific, but most often not. I see colors or hear sounds mostly with bits of imaging. I've only shared this with a few people, close friends and such. For a long time, I doubted what was happening and put it down to an overactive imagination and simply projection. I have come to accept this as normal, for me at least, and try to not let it get in the way of things. But honestly, it can be really unsettling when it pops up unannounced. And since most of the posts on this thread are jokes, let the downwards begin =. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I have prophetic dreams all the time. They're in the form of metaphorical symbols, and are glimpses in possible future events which may or may not happen. But I've often found myself at a later time thinking, so, this is what the dream was referring to. They can be good or bad, but I take a lot of them as warnings, to remind me to be careful and not fuck my life up. It's okay if you don't believe. I don't really expect people to and rarely tell anyone, but it's true. Many cultures believe in prophetic dreams, and I believe loads more people have them without realizing it because they dismiss them as bullshit and because they don't know how to interpret the symbolism. The symbolism is the language of the unconscious, also the language of myth, dreams and every David Lynch film apart from the straight story. The Bible says something like God speaketh not once, but twice to man in dreams. You can Google Dream Dictionary if you want to start learning what the symbols mean. I have been around for several decades and this has happened so far. Looked straight at a UFO at close range in Central America. It was in the middle of the day and there were several witnesses. We discussed it in detail then, and the friend I was traveling with and I continue to discuss it. Levitated in a house in New Zealand. No intoxicants, but in the middle of the night lifted off the bed and felt the space between my back and the bed. No explanation what happened. Another UFO, but much more sketchy than the one above. I saw this at daybreak by myself and cannot explain how this thing did what it did. It appeared to be gathering info over NoCal and then sped away. I was in the middle of reading Aldous Huxley's The Doors of Perception. He talks about glimpsing the incorporeal reality through various methods, including sensory deprivation, psychotropics, meditation, etc. The book was blowing my mind and I was feeling very sensitive to the incorporeal reality, whatever it was. So during this time I would lay in my bed at night, staring at the backs of my eyelids as if they were portals into the next dimension. I experienced many different layers of transcendence. Layer 1, I was traveling very fast through outer space with a billion stars flying past me. Think Star Wars. Layer 2, geometric patterns would emerge, sometimes random shapes, sometimes geometric birds flying past my field of perception. Layer 3, visions of the most beautiful landscapes and feats of architecture, bridges and such. Layer 4, when I really got deep, 4 orbs of white light would appear at the 4 corners of my field of perception. They would become more and more intense as I focused on them and I could feel them. Layer 5, the deepest I ever got, the 4 orbs began growing so intense and pretty soon they covered my entire field of perception. I could feel them throughout my entire body more and more intensely until it felt like I was having a full body orgasm. I was not on any drugs during this time, and I am no longer able to do it as I don't feel as sensitive to the incorporeal reality.